A good cup of coffee and some conversation. It's one of the best ways to connect with people. Well, today I'm going to show you how to brew coffee for two using the most elegant coffee maker ever made, the Chemex. Hey guys, Ted Jones here, owner of Riverview Coffee Roasters. I do roast to order coffee subscriptions in the top 1% of the world's supply. I ship them to you ultra fresh at the pace you like. I also teach you everything you need to know to get world-class coffee in the comfort of your own home. So if it's your first time on the channel and you'd like to see more, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Also hit the bell notifications button so you can always see all my new videos. All right, so today we're gonna focus on the Chemex Coffee Brewer. It's real elegant design. It was one of the best inventions of the 20th century. It's perfectly clean after every single brew. All you have to do is rinse it, give it a wipe out, and it's like nothing ever happened. It also has great filters that are triple bonded, so they'll actually take out all the oils and residue in the coffee. They're the cleanest filters I've ever used. I use them in my other brewers too. So let's get going. All right, let's start our brew for two. So the first thing you do is you take one of the Chemex filters. It actually folds up into a big square, into a smaller square. And then you fold it like this, like a triangle, but you're taking one side and three sides. The three sides you're gonna actually put against the spout here, and you're gonna tuck it in there, heat it with some hot water to clean off any paper residue, and also to preheat the vessel since we're brewing in it. And then we can pour right out of there as our carafe after we dispose of the filter when we're done. We've got 40 grams of a relatively coarse, actually pretty darn coarse, Brazilian medium roasted coffee I'm doing right now. It's Mantequera Alta Vista. And so it's got some nut flavors, some caramel flavors, a little bit of like a roasted grain flavor in there. So we'll go ahead and rinse off our filter and get our grounds in. Okay, we've got it wet with our grounds in. I like to tuck it in here because of the fact that it can leave an air hole, which will make gases escape and bubble up. And sometimes it starts actually spitting out coffee at you as it's brewing. So that keeps it flowing smooth. We're using 200-degree water today because we have a medium roasted coffee. I find that to be a really good temp for that. And what we do with the Chemex is we do a bloom to start. So we're gonna go ahead and put equal weights of the coffee we used. Since we're brewing two 10-ounce cups today for two people, we're using 40 grams. And so we're gonna do about 40 grams of water. And then we're gonna start the timer to let it bloom for 30 seconds. Okay, we're approaching 30 seconds. Now we wanna go ahead and reset the timer. And now we're gonna pour. We're going for a total amount of 600 grams. For every 5 ounces of coffee, you want 150 milliliters of water, which will be about the same in grams. If you look up a gram and milliliter equivalency, they're almost exactly the same. At the end, we're gonna have two perfect cups of coffee. And the way that we dial this in is we go for 4 minutes total brewing time. And then you want to keep your flow steady as far as the stream dripping from the brewer itself as it's brewing, because you want to keep the heat at the right rate. Keeping the heat actually really helps get balanced flavor to come out. And getting the amount of time right with the amount of coffee is what helps get the balanced flavor as well. So we'll continue to pour. Now we're at about 475 grams. We're at around just over 2 minutes total brew time. Every few seconds, add a little bit more. If you get a gooseneck kettle like this, it will make a huge difference for you. I have a digital one. So on this one, I can actually set the exact temperature I want. It makes it super easy for me. But if you want to do a shortcut way, you can boil water in a normal teapot and then take it off boil after about a minute. minute and a half, it'll be at around the 200 degrees. You want to pour in a spiral motion so you're covering all the grounds evenly, but you don't want to get it where you're really pouring on the filter itself. For one thing, you don't want to take out filter flavor. For another thing, you don't want it to bypass the coffee and go around it. So now we're at about 550 grams and 3 minutes, 10 seconds total brew time. So now we can go ahead and pour the rest of the water in and just let it finish out until it does a drawdown, which is just sucking the last amount of liquid through the grounds. Okay, we're coming right up to our 4 minutes total brew time here. Now we're gonna keep an eye out for the stream to turn to a drip. It turned to a drip right at 4 minutes. We'll discard the filter now. We really nailed that brew. That's when having a good burr grinder makes a significant difference, because you know for sure every time you're gonna get just the right extraction rate, just the right amount of time, because your grind's gonna come out the same every single time. So let's go ahead and pour our coffee for two. Then we'll let it cool off for a couple minutes and we'll give it a taste. Always my favorite part. Everybody's favorite part, right? Ooh, this has got beautiful color to it. I just love this brewer because it's so clean and such simple design. It's been popular since the 1940s and it's still one of the top brewers out there. I could taste it now and see what it's like, but I guarantee you after it cools down for a couple minutes, the flavor is going to be better. It's already fantastic. People like their coffee super hot. And what I find is it's kind of like bread. When you get a bread that's not really that great, it only tastes good when it was just baked. But if you get absolutely fantastic bread, it can have cooled off for some time and it's still gonna be fantastic. It's actually almost even better when it has a chance to cool. And that's the way really good coffee is. If you get a lower grade coffee or really dark roasted coffee, the flavors are fleeting in it. It sits and it's gonna get bitter. So it actually tastes better when it's piping hot because your palate can't recognize the flavor quite as much. And that's actually a good thing when you get coffee that's that bitter or ashy. When you get a coffee that's just so exquisitely clean and sweet and balanced and full of complex flavors, you taste the flavors more and more as the coffee cools. So I've seen some really high profile roasters that bring coffees to these top chefs of the world. They'll have that chef wait a little bit before he tastes the coffee because they want him to have it when it's at mouth temperature. If you think about it, that's why chocolate's so great, right? Because it melts just at mouth temperature. It's like it was made for our palates. Well, it's the same with any other food. When you eat it, when it's gotten to just at the right temperature for your body, your tongue and your taste buds are gonna recognize the flavors more, and it's the same thing with coffee. So we'll give that a minute or two to cool off, and then we'll go ahead and do our final taste test. Okay, time for our final taste test. I gave this around 4 or 5 minutes to cool down. I find that's when the flavor opens. It's almost like a flower blooming. And you'll find that really fresh roasted coffees will have the same kind of character as days go on. They'll almost open up like a flower, especially the light roasted ones. When you get to the dark roasted ones, they're awesome the first 5 or 7 days. First 3 days, they're just popping with flavor. But the body will get a little bit deeper as the gases come out. I wouldn't drink coffee past 2 weeks if you can help it. It's just not the same. It starts to really go downhill. And when you get used to drinking ultra fresh coffee, you're gonna notice a big difference in that. Let's go ahead and taste this now. It has a deep kind of caramel sweetness, like some kind of a brown sugar, but I would say it reminds me of a thick, hard, chewy caramel. You get a lot of like browning sugar flavors in coffee when you get the flavor right as far as the roasting in balance, the brewing in balance, drinking it fresh. And this particular Brazil and Brazils in general really like a 2-day rest. Brazils like to sit a couple days after you roast them. Also Sumatrans like a few days rest, whereas most other coffees don't need that rest. These coffees will be a little bit sharper and they'll have a little bit of bitterness and lack that complexity of flavor the first couple days. And then they really settle in and start to sweeten up more and get more and more beautiful as the time goes on. I get a lot of nut character in this too. It's like a pecan, hazelnutty, little different nut hints in there that you don't get from many coffees. I get them for a few Latin American coffees like Nicaraguan sometimes, but Brazil primarily will be consistently nutty. And when I look for a Brazil, I look for a good nutty Brazil. I have customers that want that Brazil every week. They brew their espresso. Gotta have the Brazil. I bring them something else. God, I need that Brazil. It's so funny serving so many people, seeing how they all have different types of coffees they like. And it really does show how different people are and how different coffees are and how awesome it is when you get coffee so good that you can really tell those differences and they don't all just taste like roast or all just taste like fruit. I get a little bit of a grain quality in this too, but like a really pleasing grain quality, almost like in a really well milled flour for like a pasta or a cookie, something that's got that browning of a grain. It's like a roasted grain, like a barley almost, but it's so pleasant. I love it. It's like amazing food in a cup. So you can drink your coffee for two and sit and talk about coffee, right? Or you could talk about anything in the world or just cozy up, watch a good show together. So there you go. With a little bit of dialing in, you can make amazing coffee for two. I use it as my Sunday coffee brewer now because it's just so sexy. I love this thing. But I used to use it every single day for a long time. And you may want to too. Once you fall in love with this thing, there may be no going back. All right, so if you enjoyed the video today, go ahead and hit the like button and go ahead and leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you like to brew in. If you use the Chemex, which ways work the best for you. And also, if you have any ideas for any future videos, I'd love to hear about that too. So this is Ted signing off. I'll see you on the next one.